Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candace Marie. I hope everybody is doing well. It's Friday night here, back to doing my Friday night live readings. I love being able to do this for you guys. It's super fun. Last week, if you guys checked the live, we were actually doing astrology. We've done astrology, I think, the last 2 weeks. People really liked it. So now we're back and we're doing some tarot, and I'm super excited because I just busted out a new deck. Well, it's not new. Those of you guys who have seen some of my videos, you see some of the same kind of decks circulate. But I just cracked open one of my Baba Studios Victorian Romantic decks. So this is my favorite deck. It's one that I have been collecting since the very first version. Those of you guys who are familiar with their decks, you know they make really nice, beautiful images, beautiful prints, awesome stock. And this is like the one deck that I'm afraid that they're ever gonna stop making, because I'm like, how am I ever gonna read tarot if they don't keep printing these decks? So every now and then, probably every couple of years, I'll take one out of my stockpile and I'll bust it open and open a new one. So this is a brand new deck, so I'm kind of excited for that. Hello everybody in the chat. Hi JLo, nice to see you. Sapphire and Miss Thompson, how's it going, guys? We've got somebody who's already paid for a reading. So those of you guys who aren't familiar with the process and how this works, you can see that there is a pinned PayPal link. So all you got to do is just go to the PayPal. You can buy one question. Well, you can buy a question for one card or three. So we're doing one card for 20, three for 40. Pretty good deal. Especially if those of you guys who are just new to my channel want to get like a vibe for how I read, or those of you guys who have spoken with me before and you have a quick question. I'm usually pretty busy. I'm booked about anywhere from 2 to 3 months at a time. So right now I'm booked out until August. So this can be a really great way to like get a quick question answered, or it can also be a really awesome way just to kind of get a feel for how I do readings. I also practice astrology, predictive astrology, and with a real focus and emphasis on evolutionary. So if you're into astrology stuff, check out my channel. You can see every morning I do a live kind of forecast about what is coming for the week ahead. So if you're into that kind of stuff, check that out. Those of you guys who are new, welcome, welcome. It is Friday night in my part of the world. Where are you guys tuning in from? And I'm also gonna see, so Nancy, are you here? Hi Nance, there you are, so that's you. I got your payment for the question for 3 cards. Just let me know what your question is, what you want me to shine a light on and take a look at for you. If you guys do send a PayPal payment, just let me know, that way I can update it and make sure that I catch you, because sometimes when we get into the stream, we've got readings going and it's like crazy and it can be harder for me to kind of check back. So just be like, hey, I sent a PayPal. Somebody asked, what is the name of the Sabian Symbols book that you use? You know, I was kicking myself after we finished because I like put it on my table because I was like, we're going to read the Sabian Symbol for the full moon. And I forgot. The name of the book is Sabian Symbols, A Screen of Prophecy by Diana Roche. This is the book. I'm going to do a video soon where I talk about all of my astrology books. You guys can't see the other half of my office, but it's covered in books. I'm like running out of room. I have no more space, so I'm having to like weigh the options of, do I want to let go of some like weird collectible artifacts like bottles and jars and herbs, or do I need to make more space for books? And I'm quickly running out of books. Quickly running out of space. Too many books. Mercury retrograde. Thanks, JLo. St. Louis, South Korea. All right. Nance, what are we taking a look at? What do you want to know? Let me know. What is your question? I saw that you sent me the little note, but I didn't see a question for you. Yeah, good point. Also, my little co-pilot is helping me out with my lives. Made a request. If you send a PayPal, please let us know your YouTube name, because sometimes people have like a super normal PayPal and they have like this like wackadoodle YouTube name, and I would never know that it's you. So just let me know. Make more space for books always. That's the plan. That is the plan. I'm trying. I'm always buying new books, and I'm constantly studying and reading, so I'm running out of space. Hey, Brooklyn in the house. Interesting. Knight of Wands jumps out, huh? Look at how beautiful these cards are. I know you guys can see kind of, you'll see shots of like overhead and other stuff too, but when we start doing the readings, you'll see another, another view. That's what we were setting up, but took a little bit longer to get started. Hi, Mindy. How's it going? All the ladies in the house. Nance, did I lose you? Are you there? Here we go. How to navigate with the current energies with family and loved ones. Let's take a look and see what the cards have to say. Nance picked up a 3-card reading. Ooh, I like that sound. It's my favorite. It's my favorite. A nice card stock. That's what, totally the way to my heart. Those of you guys who read, you know what it's like when you break out a new deck, huh? All right, Nance, here we go. All right, so for the cards, all of them are reversed. Doesn't mean that things are not going to work. I see that more as just like you're having to work a little harder to get some of these things up and moving. I also kind of feel like this is talking about like a lot more of like internal shifts, a lot more of like emotional shifts. There's a lot of work that you're doing internally before there are shifts that kind of happen out in the world in your life. So how to navigate these energies with your family. First of all, there can be stuff that's pertaining to like a masculine figure, like who the boss of the house is, like, you know, fathers, husbands, older brothers, things like that come up. So I'm kind of wondering, is there any one particular person who's kind of coming and really kind of, you know, filling that like archetype for you right now? I'd wonder if there's like a man, or if you're dealing with an Aries, or it can be talking about just like an older father figure or like a parent. The first card is the 8 of Pentacles. So that's a good card. When 8 of Pentacles comes up and it's reversed, it can basically be like a situation where there's financial challenges, or somebody who's not working, somebody who's taking time off of work. You know, 8 of Pentacles is traditionally like really honing in on your craft and really perfecting something, and like being able to have a lot of business or being able to be very productive. So when I see it reversed, it's telling me like there can be something going on where there's some changes in the dynamic of the home. Somebody may be changing jobs. Somebody may be out of work right now. Somebody may be even dealing with like a health situation, and it's more challenging for that person to like really step up, whether this is financially or physically. Sometimes this is a card that also comes up that's talking about somebody trying to mend issues at work or trying to mend issues with their career. So that could be for you or for somebody else. But 8 of Pentacles reversed is just kind of saying like, there you go, your dad. There is something that's like not working, or he's not working, okay? So then we have the Emperor reversed. First of all, the Emperor loves to really be in control, right? And he usually rules very well. He's very just, he's very fair, he's very firm. So when I see the Emperor coming up reversed, it can be somebody who is shorter tempered, they're kind of agitated. Sometimes they're kind of like throwing their weight around. They're trying to call the shots, or they're getting frustrated that they don't feel like that they're in control. And this is an interesting dynamic because it's saying like whatever's going on with him, he needs to heal. Like there needs to be something that's healed, whether it's like healing and like working on the fact that things don't work within the family dynamic when he's the one who always wants to be in charge. Or things don't work very well with the family dynamic when, you know, he feels like, well, you should not question my judgment. Like, you know, I'm the dad, I'm the elder. That's the way that it goes. And this is so perfect and really kind of a real reflection of what's going on in the astrology right now. Those of you guys who aren't aware, Mars is in Leo, Mars, Emperor. It's coming into oppositions and squares, both between Saturn and Aquarius, the star. So it's kind of like this old versus new, and a lot of people want to break through, and there's going to be a lot of like fierce egos, and there can be just lots of challenges with older generations giving way to new ways of doing things. So this is literally referencing the astrology. Very interesting that it's talking about those planets. And then the star card being reversed, it does talk about that healing, healing group dynamics, like everybody learning that when there's a bunch of like inflared kind of egos or tempers or arguments, and it may not even pertain with you, it's just how other family members are dealing with your dad. We don't have like the group working together. Like it doesn't feel very like joined and aligned. And so part of what the star card does, it's a positive card, whether it's reversed or not. It can be delayed healing, right? It can be saying like, you know, he's not learning the lesson. He's not really aware of why he may be out of work or why he's having a health issue. there's an intention to slow him down and like help him heal. And this is like really heavy in Aquarius and also like either Mars or Aries energy. So I don't know if there's anybody else in the family who has these signs. I don't know if it can be really significant in regards to his chart. I know his health is not well, suffered from traumatic brain injury, is trying to the same things as before. He can't. My mom and my sisters are trying to help him. Okay, so thank you for the clarity, so I can get even more clear now. This is a very prideful man. And I think he's always been the one who's been like, I go to work, I take care of the family, I do what I got to do. I'm the one who's in charge. That's my job. Very traditional with the Emperor. But the reality of the situation is he can't do some of the things that he used to do. And those of you guys who are familiar with like brain injuries, I'm the last person to talk about this. I stick to my lane. This is my area of work, but I've had a lot of clients who have gone through that. I've had family members who've gone through that as well. And it can be so frustrating because the mind wants to work, it wants to rebound, but the body, it doesn't always work that way. If you're having some kind of brain injury and it's affected either your nervous system or it's affected your mobility, there's like almost feeling like being trapped in your body, right? And like not being able to be in control. That's what I see with the Emperor reverse, is being trapped in his body and feeling like he's losing control. He doesn't have control. He can't do all these little things by himself. And he may be a perfectionist. He may be somebody who really takes pride in doing things and doing things well, whether that's his job or he's very particular with, how he wears his clothing and he wants his clothes ironed, or he's really particular with who manages the finances and he wants to be the person who's in the finances. Whatever, he's very particular. So when these two come up reversed, it's already challenging enough for him to not be able to do these things. But on top of that, you've also got a situation where he's a perfectionist and it's literally driving him crazy watching one of your sisters cut a sandwich a certain way, right? Or struggle with setting up a TV, or things that like dad will be like, just get out of the way, let me do it, I've got it. It's really painful for him to not be able to jump in and have control. So part of the lesson here is empathy, right? And trying to be more understanding and practicing empathy in terms of, wow, it must be really hard for him. He's very proud. He takes a lot of pride in taking care of his family. It's not easy for him to ask for help, right? And so that's how I would come at it, just kind of having that conversation with your mom, having that conversation with your family. This is about a joint effort, a group effort. So what I really love is like, there is this aspect of you guys, even in spite of him being a little short-tempered or having a hard time or getting frustrated, it's like, let us love you. Like, we're here to help you. Like, this tells me that there's like a healing bubble that's around him. And this is a lesson for him in terms of learning what he can and cannot control. And I believe that people, we have health issues or physical things that come up. And sometimes it's meant to be like the catalyst for change or like a learning lesson. So part of what I see here is about him learning that one person carrying the team oftentimes doesn't work. It's like, it's not sustainable. Like maybe he's been working or living his life in a way where he doesn't slow down and take care of himself, and he doesn't always, consider himself. He puts everybody else first. And so it's kind of like that's coming back to him. And like the way that he sees it is he doesn't want to be a burden. And the way everybody is seeing it is just like, just shut up and let us help you. So I can see where there's a lot of frustration. I will also tell you that I do see this improving. It's going to take about 8 months. So, when we kind of do the math and we look at where that lands us right around Aquarius season. So whether this is like him just being able to be more fully functional the beginning of next year, whether he's going back to work or he's just can kind of take care of himself better. I mean, February really through April of next year looks like that's when things start to segue and they start to change. And I also feel like this is such an awesome opportunity for you and your family to kind of look at the dynamics differently. And it really is like this kind of like masculine energy, kind of being more submissive and like letting other people, whether it's younger people or the girls in the family or whatever, really step up. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. I would encourage you also, and this is like more intuitive, because that star card is coming up reversed with the Emperor. Does your dad is he disconnected from his social group? Like, is there something that's going on where He's not really able to see his friends. Are his friends trying to check in with him? You know, do you want to place a phone call to a couple of his friends and be like, hey, he could really need some cheering up. Can you give him a call? Can you stop by? Can you check in on him? Because this is about community for him and bringing more community in and making it possible for him to feel like he has a support system all around, right? So hopefully that was helpful. Jackie, that's really sweet. Sending lots of healing stuff and all of that your way. Nance, I hope this is helpful. I do feel confident that this is definitely going to improve, but try to be understanding and practice empathy and understand that part of his frustration comes from the fact that he doesn't want to be a burden, right? And he's used to doing things a certain way. So you'll have to check back in with me at later live and let me know how that's going. Hopefully that was helpful. We got another Nancy. Nancy. Should I date the wine guy at school? Girl, always date the wine guy. He's got wine. Hold on while I grab my wine. It's Friday. I'm off duty. Should I date the wine guy at school? My teacher cockblocked him yesterday while I was talking to him. I love his smile. Nancy, what's wine guy's name? Do you know his star sign? Let's see what the cards have to say. Although I'm just going to tell you right now, if he's wine guy, and how did he get wine guy? That's what I want to know. And you met him at school. Thanks, Mindy. You're next in the queue, right after I speak with Nancy number 2. Let's see what the cards have to say. You don't know. All right. Oof. Girl, those are some cards. He was presenting at the wine conference. Well, at least you know he's a pro wine guy, which means he's got the good stuff. All right, so we've got the Moon, followed by the 9 of Wands, followed by the 3 of Swords. To be honest with you, I'm getting the impression that part of this is like you're already kind of feeling emotionally defeated, or you're already kind of feel like you're being shut down in some way, whether that's because of what happened with the teacher or whatever. So let's break it down. The Moon card is coming up. So for me, that's talking about like intuition, feelings. Like, did you see that guy and have a feeling and go, I don't know, I just got to talk to that person. It's about this really strong draw that you have to someone. And specifically, the Moon can be their eyes. It can be their face. It can be something where you're just like, I don't know, I just have a feeling like something could play out here. It's also talking about trusting your intuition, paying attention to what's going on. You know, sometimes the Moon card can be talking about things that are happening subconsciously, or that are happening and they can be more negative in a sense of like somebody trying to influence or somebody trying to block, right? So somebody just sending those emotional vibes of trying to shut that down, or trying to not allow you to connect with this person. If there's any question of whether or not that happened, that's for sure happening, like 100%. To me, it can also be talking about like, you know, misery loves company. So, you know, teacher, like, you know, not doing what she did because she feels like it's inappropriate, like doing what she's doing because she doesn't like that somebody else is getting the attention, or, you know, cock blocking because she doesn't want to see you like get ahead with that person. I don't like to say that, but that's literally what the card means. So what's going on covertly under the radar, under the surface? It might be talking about also like, if you do reach out to wine guy, if you do to try to check in with him, like I would keep that to yourself. Like keep it to yourself. Don't be going into class and being like, hey, I hooked up with a wine guy. What's up? Like, no, because that's gonna create some more issues here, especially with a female, you know, whether it's like a teacher or whatever. Also, it is talking about like not being too boastful about what happens until you know how it's gonna go. The Moon card coming up with the 9 of Wands and the 3 of Swords tells me there's something else going on here. What's really happening is you're trying to overcome issues with, you know, fear of rejection. Like there's this like, well, is he gonna like me? Is he not gonna like me? Like, you know, is that a good idea? You know, I saw this reminds me of a meme. I posted it on my stories recently. If you don't follow my Instagram, I'm always posting funny memes because, well, the world needs it. But something said something like, you know, tarot readers on TikTok or on the internet will look you straight in the eye and, you know, show you the Three of Swords and tell you love is on the way, right? And it's fucking hilarious to me because that's true. There's a lot of people out there that are doing this because they realize that people can easily be manipulated. So I'm looking at that Three of Swords going, you know, it may not pan out the way that you want it to pan out. And this is also telling me that, you know, you also equally in not taking the chance, you're always going to think about it. It's always going to be like, well, you know, you might wake up, you know, 6 months from now and go, what if I had just like bit the bullet and reached out to him and asked him? Realize that there is a possibility that there is some emotional disappointment. That's kind of the feeling that I get. And whether it's like, you know, you reach out to him and you ask him out and he's like, actually, I have a wife or I'm seeing somebody, that could be the disappointment. And then you find out like, oh, okay, like that's why like that can't happen, or that's why, you know, like we were vibing, but he couldn't. So it's about paying attention to your intuition. Something definitely did call you to him, like without a doubt, like you're not crazy. But the Nine of Wands and the Three of Swords tells me like, you know, he or you could be coming out of some real emotionally charged situations. Like he could be going through a breakup. You could be trying to kind of, you know, be on your Stella gets your groove back stuff and reach out to him. And he's just like, you know, I'm like not in a good place. Like I can't really be dating right now, or I'm going through a separation, I'm going through a divorce. So some of these answers or some of these things may even come to you in the form of a dream. Like it might be that right now it's not a good time to connect with him. You're feeling like you want to connect to him. You don't know if you want to deal with rejection. So a month or two from now, you have a dream and you have a dream about him. Something will be triggered for you intuitively or psychically that's going to make you want to reach out to him, or you'll keep seeing synchronicities that are connected to him. The Nine of Wands tells me like, okay, it's almost over, this challenging aspect of, you know, you feeling like you're always having to chase men, or you feeling like, you know, you have to be the one that initiates things and you have to be the one that carries it, and you're over it. I don't know if that's how you feel. But the Nine of Swords and the Three of Swords is like, you know, overcoming disappointments. This is still a warning though, that it's like letting you know that this is somebody who will either disappoint you, or it'll be a disappointing kind of response that you get from him. And he could be like, you know, I'm still getting over a breakup. I need some time. Regardless of how this plays out, I would really proceed with caution, to be honest with you, because I feel like the Moon and the Three of Swords is kind of telling me that like there's a reason why it was delayed, or there is a reason why you guys haven't connected yet. I'll pull another card here. Wheel of Fortune. So timing, it's a timing thing. It's not the right time yet, you know? And so what I was saying, I think is correct. One or both parties may not be ready. Something is going on here. Are you, at least since like, you know, did you go through a separation or a breakup, or did you like really clear something out hardcore around the time of the full moon this month? Or if we look at what happened 6 months ago when we had all these energies in Capricorn, was there something happened then for you? Like, let me know. Seeing your comments. Yeah, it's like, I just feel like there could be some disappointment. I got to tell you that, because I'm not going to be that tarot reader that's going to be like, yeah, look, girl, love's on the way. Like, I could have dodged a bullet with this one. But equally also, I think that it's like this emotional feeling of like already being shut down, and that maybe there was some sort of like embarrassment of feeling like the teacher got in there and was like, yeah, no, that, you know, you're already kind of like, okay, it can't go there. For the Wheel of Fortune to be the clarifier, it's saying it's a matter of timing and fate playing a role. So it might also be like when the time is right. You may also see this more so kind of pan out closer to the end of this year. The feeling is I get towards the end of this year, right? Because that's kind of like a saggy energy. Oh, you've not dated for a year. Okay. So you're coming up on your 1 year. So like I was saying, if you're just getting back into the game, I don't want you to have a situation with this person where you're like, what's up, let's go out, and then he ends up being shitty, or he ends up standing you up, or he ends up disappointing you, and you're going to be like, oh, forget love. Like, I don't want you to do that. Thanks, Jackie. I would say if you're still feeling like this closer to the end of this year, reach out again. There's nothing wrong with talking to him though, but you might talk to him and realize like homeboy's like not in the emotional space and he's not ready. Yeah, you don't want to be taking in men till they find their forever home. That's what I like to call it. Hopefully that was helpful, Nancy. Let's see. So I got somebody else who sent me something. That was Mindy. Let me see, Mindy. Did you put your question in the payment? Let's find out. Okay. So we've got somebody we got Mindy, and we've also got Sarah. I see you too, Sarah. What's coming up for me career-wise? I'm a music artist and I've been in what feels like a standstill since April with my career. An opportunity popped up for me recently and is an acting opportunity, but nothing is solidified yet. So, Mindy, let's see what's going on. That's exciting. Changes, duality. I got you, girl. I got you. So let's see what the cards have to say for you career-wise. Five of Pentacles, Ace of Wands reversed. Ooh, this is really good. This is really good. Okay, so Five of Pentacles, obviously a card of feeling like left out in the cold, stagnant, like not being productive, not making money, like feeling like things haven't really been flowing, right? Or feeling like you're being deprived of something. When I see this card, it makes me kind of feel like, you know, like kind of begging for crumbs in a way, right? Like you see like the two homeless people sitting outside and traditionally in the Rider-Waite, you see that it's like snowing and they're sitting outside and they're out in the cold and they're literally starving and they're hungry. This can be a card that comes up and it talks about poverty. So it's kind of feeling like where you've been, you haven't been able to make ends meet. Granted, I mean, the pandemic and everything for a lot of like creatives and performers, it's been a really rough year, okay? So what's telling me is that it's moving away from this. Like the World card is the final card. These are one of the best cards that you can pull. It's about wrapping up something. So this is what we're moving away from, feeling like there isn't enough, you're not getting paid enough, or there isn't enough that's showing up that makes it even feel like worth it. And it's also telling me that you might need a bit of a break, you know, like even if you have felt blocked from a sense of like not performing or not recording or not creating music, you need a break from what you were doing, because when you're pushing those creative juices, you don't need me to tell you that, like, you can't force the creativity. You can't just make it come. So part of what's happening is you're having like this pause and like moving away from feeling like you're begging just to kind of throw something together that doesn't even really feel all that great, and you're changing your energy. A lot of it deals with how you go about embracing this change. And the Ace of Wands, you can't go wrong. It can be a time where there's new beginnings. It's meant to be fun and exciting and a lot of movement and a lot of like, you know, just things happening very quickly. Traditionally, an ace tells me that there's a new energy coming, but it's trying to break through. Like it's trying to break through when it's reversed. So it's also reminding you, it's not like you're gonna go, oh, I'm throwing my performing and my music career out the window. Like I'm an actress now. Like don't do that. I don't think you're going to, but you don't want to do that. This can be something that takes a little bit of a delay to get up off the ground. And so what it can say is a lot of it is how you move that energy, right? And there's movement involved here somehow, because fire burns and the World card is about traveling, expanding, more like your visibility, like in a way. This can be a nice way to get more visibility and do the acting stuff and have the ability to like expand, go places that you haven't been before, get that recognition, like have all of that stuff shift. So you can be like, oh, by the way, I'm also a recording artist, what's up? And you're gonna build off of that. So you can't go wrong with this. This is actually really positive. I feel like this also is a time where you need somebody to help organize all of this energy, right? Like you're kind of in uncharted territory right now. And the Ace of Wands can be like, well, do I need to take an acting workshop? Well, do I need to find a manager who's going to represent me in this world? Well, it's about action, right? We think of like Aries, which just wants to get going. We think of Leo, which just wants to be on stage and they want to perform. And then we think about Sag, which is like, I'm going places. So a lot of these energies, these fire energies, are going to kind of come up for you. And I think that you need some help containing this and figuring out how to get where you're going. Also, like a fire ritual can be really good. Like the Ace of Wands reverse, I see that as it can be a delayed start or a false start. Like, okay, I'm doing this, but it may not really be happening until later this year. Pay attention to everything happening this summer, because really most of the energy is going to start, I think, during like when the sun ingresses into Leo, and you'll see this play out until the end of the year. You have to give yourself a working time frame. So I see this as, yeah, I'm going to actively participate in this until the end of the year. I'm going to take this opportunity. I'm going to see how it plays out, even if there's delays, and I'm going to give myself either to the end of the year or one annual year to work on this. This is a cycle. The World card, awesome card. This is talking about, you know, travel, expansion, completing things, wrapping things up, completing, you know, big things, making big things happen. And I've seen this card come up a lot for like people in the creative, when they ask me creative questions like, well, is it going to be well received? And I'm like, yeah, a lot of people are going to see it. It's going to go well. And it's a part of completing something. So it might mean that what you'll realize is that in a way, acting can be very complementary and very helpful to kind of like really thoroughly rounding out all of your talents, right? Because the Ace of Wands, I see that as talent. So there's that. I believe that if you give yourself at least until the end of this year, but probably realistically an annual year, you'll start to see this really kind of unfold and play out in quite a beautiful way. I'm interested to see where it takes you, like geographically. You know, do you end up doing an acting role or whatever where you get picked up for a TV show and it's got a lot of visibility, or you got to film it in another city? Like things like this might actually start to kind of come together and manifest for you. Fire energies for Leo. Okay, so then if you're a Leo rising, you know, you got Saturn in your 7th house, you got Uranus in your 10th. Girl, these are fame houses. You know, Uranus in your 7th is like these Saturn in your 7th is about committing to partnership and who is going to help work with you and represent you. Uranus in your 10th right now, it's basically saying you need to be willing to kind of juggle and make changes and do things that are kind of unconventional for you in regards to your career. So you're going to see, actually, as we go into Leo season, there's going to be just a lot more visibility for you. There's going to be Mars and the Sun and Venus and all these planets that are going to be in Leo, which is going to ding Uranus and oppose Saturn. So a lot of attention on you, really putting a lot of focus on your appearance, and like who can see you and how you're standing out from a crowd. So you can be kind of like a hot commodity and people can really want you or want photos of you or want to be meeting with you pretty much throughout the summer, really July and August. Leo risings are really getting their ass kicked right now because they're realizing like who is and is not in their corner. And partnerships in all forms, whether it's romantic or professional, they need to be in alignment with some of the changes that you're making in your career. So I would say it might be beneficial to like talk to somebody who can help represent you when you really do start getting into doing some of this stuff, so you know that the deals are being negotiated, that you're being covered, that you've got somebody who's really familiar with this territory. And it can be that for the time being, you see if an existing manager can do that and if they can handle it, or if you need to like bring somebody else in. So I have Leo, Mars, Venus, and Ascendant. Oh, girl, it's so good for you. All these returns that you're having here soon. It's going to be really good. You're really going to like this. It's a lot about you, like really, July and August, it's all going to be about Mindy. It's not about anybody else. And you're going to get pulled from all different places. You're going to get pulled from your 7th house and you're going to get squared from your 10th house. And I'm going to give you the okay to like really be all about you for the next 2 months and be focusing on what's best for you and what you need. And that's not going to sit well with some other people, just so you know. Great for visibility though, really great. When you come out of those squares, usually what ends up manifesting is huge changes in your career. You know, when you have squares in the angular houses, the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th, the wheel of the chart turns. And just in my experience, you know, I've talked about my chart, but I don't talk about it a lot. But, you know, I have really heavy cardinal placements. I've got 4 planets in my 4th, and I've got my moon in my 7th, and I've got Jupiter in my 10th. And I'm coming out of years where I've had all the Saturn stuff you know, square my ascendant and my moon and oppose my Jupiter. And it did all this like crazy stuff the last 2 years where I felt like the universe was like shoving me to go more so in the direction of my 7th and my 10th house, which is showing up, you know, being visible, like putting my face back on the internet, coming and offering new services and like really kind of stepping into the 10th house. And so now that I'm out of those squares, so many good things happened. Like I moved, I got back on the internet. I had a lot of things that shifted with my practice. And like now I'm like quite pleased with what's come of all of that heavy lifting. So I've said this a million times. It's kind of like a diamond. Like all of the pressure that's being put on your astrology right now, it's not without good reason. You're going to have something very valuable on the other side. It could be fame. 7th and 10th house. It could be new relationships. It could be better relationships. It could be a better career. So where there's pressure, be mindful of that. Just watch the ego with all these planets going through Leo, because there's going to be a lot of inflamed egos going on, like a lot of back and forth that you're going to have over the next 2 months with a lot of people. But it's about you, how you look, your body, what you value, and you'll probably make you have all that Leo in your chart. You probably would be a really great actress. So let me know how it goes. They're going to even out. Don't you worry about that, girl. Hopefully that was helpful, Mindy. Thanks for checking in with me. I've got Sarah here. What is the most important thing I need to know right now? Such a great question. I feel like that's how you should always start a reading. You know, just a word to the wise. Somebody who's read for a very long time. I'm somebody who's also read with a lot of readers myself because I'm a skeptic at heart. I feel like you have to be, you know? A great way to go into a reading and see what somebody really knows and, you know, being really open to what spirit has to say is, what do I need to know? What's most important right now for me? What do I need to be aware of? You know, where can I do better? Guide me in what direction I need to be working on things. And also it's just smart, because here's the reality of the situation. You go into a reading, readers aren't constantly dealing with people who are having rainbow and butterfly situations in their life, right? Like if you're calling me because you're having a problem. You need guidance, you need direction, you're lost. A lot of readers will prey on the fact that we know that people are having these issues and that they are vulnerable and they will believe just about anything, including a whole lot of bullshit. A lot of people will just give you readings just to get paid. So a really easy way to kind of sort out the bullshit artists from somebody who really knows what they're doing is to go into a reading and say, what do I need to know? That's what I do first, always. So for Sarah, what does she need to know? Want it in that order. A lot of people don't like that I say that stuff. Not that I'm like hating on other readers, but it's just, you gotta be ethical, you know? You gotta be ethical. Interesting. So we've got, first of all, 3 cards that are reversed. Same thing that I said last time. Can be just more internal. This can be something that's more private. This can be something that you're trying to work out. All right, so let's go. King of Pentacles reversed. So that can be either yourself as more of like your more masculine energy, or something that is going on pertaining to business or to work or to finances. It can also be you dealing with another person, like a relationship specifically, or your role in relationships, or a boss or a father figure, depending on how this pertains to your life. King of Pentacles is usually somebody who's on top of his shit. So it's like somebody who's really great with business, really great with finances, is really mature with like making decisions, life decisions, and has like much more of like a practical kind of detached approach to handling these things. It can be a Capricorn, a Virgo, or a Taurus, okay? If it's not a man that you're dealing with, it can be kind of talking about like, you know, dealing with like that side of yourself. Like, how do I better get a handle on my finances? How do I better get a handle on my health? How can I feel like I'm more in charge? When a king like this comes up reversed, I kind of wonder, is there a sense of somebody being too overly fixated on the physical, on the practical, and paying too much attention to the money, but not how they're making it? Is there something going on where they're dealing with a health issue or some kind of issue in values where something is just not really kind of like lining up. And kings, when they're reversed, you'll see the more negative side of the king. So it can be something like somebody who can be more greedy, or somebody who is a little obsessed with finances, or somebody who is penny pinching and afraid that they're not going to have enough. They can be really cold too, and it can be somebody who's like a little bit more callous. Then you've got the Justice card reversed. So off the bat, you know, Justice deals with karma, right? This is the energy of Libra. And whether this is talking about like where Libra is in your chart, what's going on with the relationship, whether or not like you feel like something is fair, if you're getting what you need out of an interaction, if you're willing to open up to actually getting back into a relationship, if you're healing something and working something out pertaining to a relationship where you dealt with an individual like this, something is out of balance. When the scales are reversed, they're turned upside down, they go all over the place. And Libra is a sign where, when you think about it, like, it's so funny, and I can say this, I'm a Libra rising, and I have a 7th house moon. Libra is supposed to represent balance, fairness, their perspective, their ability to be just. If you see anything about lots of Libras, oftentimes they don't really come into that until they're a little bit older. There's a lot of like going back and forth, like, well, what do you think? Like, should I do this? Should I not do this? Or, you know, changing their mind a lot. So I don't know if you're dealing with an individual where there's something going on where you're feeling like they're not being fair to you. So it can be like, you know, a partner not really showing up or not sharing their resources, or, you know, a partner just like not really kind of pulling their weight, or, you know, whether or not you even want to get involved in a relationship again because you've experienced this and like you don't want to deal with this again. So it depends on where you're at within this. Justice reverse also is letting you know that there are some karmic things at work here. So be mindful. And karma is neutral. It's neither good nor bad, at least from my perspective. It's just, it is what it is. And people make a lot of comments about karma, but I don't think people really get how it works. It can also be about whether or not you choose to take on somebody's karma. This can be a warning that be mindful of dealing with partnerships that are imbalanced, because you can take on some of their shit, whether this is financially, emotionally, health-wise, and if you're going to allow that other person to actually really affect you. So you got to really think about that. Justice reverse is also kind of saying that karma is at play. So karma is being doled out, which I actually don't think is really from a past life. It was from this life. It can be from a past life. So this can be dealing with like a karmic partner, a soulmate, something that you're repeating, and that you're frustrated because you're showing up and that other person isn't showing up and they're not doing their part. It can mean that there is karma that's being generated right now that's going to affect a next lifetime. And also there are karmic situations from past lives that are coming up. And if somebody can't meet you halfway, right, that makes me wonder. Like, if you feel like expanding, I know that this is a public forum. That's why you guys are getting these cards at a discount, because we're doing it in front of other people. If you want to expand on that and let me know how this pertains to you personally, if it's like a romantic relationship, if it's you getting back into one, if you feel like, you know, quite literally I could look at this and go, this could be a situation where you're in a relationship with somebody and they don't want to share their resources, or they don't want to share money, or they're penny pinching, or they're not indulging, and they're not merging. Like, there's a sense of not merging, either physically or financially or emotionally, because Libra is it is an air sign, but this does deal with like fairness in relationships and how we feel about people. And then the final card is Two of Cups reversed. So Two of Cups is traditionally a card that's like somebody saying, hey, do you want to get a drink? Do you want to enter into union with me? You know, you see the two that are locking arms in an embrace, and they're like, you know, in the traditional Rider way, coming together. So this is really telling me, like, you know, somebody is not showing up, or you might say, well, this isn't the kind of relationship I want, or this isn't the romantic dynamic that I want. And no, I'm sorry, I'm no longer interested in this relationship. It's not making me feel like we're coming together. It can also be an indication that the relationship is not working. And it's not that it's not working because of you. It's not working because of them. It's not my place to judge, but that's what the cards are saying, that it's not really a situation where you have any control. Yeah, spouse not showing up for you. Bingo. You don't really have any control over what they do. You only have control over yourself. So if this person's not showing up, they're not practicing fairness, they're not being your better half, they're not physically or financially showing up, or maybe there's some aspect of them financially or work-wise that's also putting more pressure on the relationship. Two of Cups is like, are we getting divorced? Is this not going to work out in the long term? A lot of that really is going to depend on, I guess that would be more so another question. But I feel like, just in a sense of timing, you got to give this until the fall. You got to give this until about September, October. Then when we're in Libra season, when there is a Mercury retrograde in Libra, and we're reevaluating relationships, reevaluating whether or not we're going to make it work, that's also going to make some aspects to Saturn, and it's going to make some squares to Pluto. Then we'll really know whether or not the relationship dynamic is going to work out. I wonder, is he having issues working? Is he not working? Is his confidence shot to shit? Does he feel like, you guys don't have the finances for things? It makes me kind of wonder what the deal is. But Two of Cups reversed is essentially the two people falling apart from each other. And so there's no definitive answer as to whether or not you guys are going to stay together, only that you benefit from acknowledging, this is not fair. I'm not getting what I need. I need more from you, and perhaps maybe this is about having that conversation. And if you guys can't sit down and talk about it together, sometimes justice can be a mediator. Sometimes that can be going and finding a middle ground, or, sometimes that card gets thrown around. Justice coming up with Two of Cups is am I getting divorced? So I need to talk to an attorney, right? And I would be careful with how you're throwing that around if you're at that point or that stage in a relationship where people are just kind of haphazardly being like, well, I don't know, maybe we need to talk about getting divorced. Be careful with that, because what that's telling me with the King of Pentacles reversed is that's going to spook him, and that's not necessarily going to help. He got a job that's killing him physically and emotionally. We've fallen apart. Yeah, and I mean, there is a way to appeal to him. You can appeal to him, but part of what I see is that this is not all on you. So you got to say what you got to say, tell him what you need, maybe find a mediator, not in a legal sense yet, but somebody, whether it's a therapist or somebody where you can sit down and just kind of talk about how you feel. Because if that's the dynamic that's going on, the Libra sun is the mediator. See, guys, this is very literal. The cards are very active. The moon's conjunct Pluto tonight, so it's a really good time for reading. I have to tell you, if your sun is the mediator and if justice is reversed, part of me feels like that is going to be your kid being like, Mom, you need this, or you shouldn't do that, or, don't leave Dad, don't separate. He'll try to do that, but because he's going to see what you're going through, and he's also going to see, this is the cards, what his dad's not doing, this may start to kind of brew what may ultimately be a wedge between the Libra and the father, right? So be mindful of that, especially as he keeps seeing, he might be trying to really be no, it's going to be fine. We can work on this. It'll be good. Just stay with him. As he sees that you continue to suffer in the relationship, and I'm a big believer in this. Sometimes staying together for the kids is not the thing to do. Right? And we can see that we create a dynamic for children that it's just normal to just be ignored or fight or, sacrifice your happiness for the sake of marriage. And a lot of people have really, 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 really strong views on this, but this makes me feel like, yeah, your son's telling you to leave. Okay, well, there you go. Eventually, there will be some kind of riff or a resentment that he'll have with his dad if you continue to stay in this and he watches it go down. And I would be more concerned. This is not me judging you, because I don't have kids. I can't even imagine being in these situations. But I would be more concerned with the fact that your son is watching this go down and he's learning that it's okay to be in this dynamic, right? Because this does talk about you dealing with two people, whether it's you and your husband or these two, and the relationship that ultimately they end up having. So, and this is hard because, some people have very strong opinions on marriage. To me, this seems like you're less concerned with whether or not you stay married. You're more concerned with the fact that you're in a relationship where you feel like somebody is not acknowledging you, or that they are not keeping up their end of the deal. And that's really painful. Because, and King of Pentacles, he's somebody who's like, I gotta work, I gotta provide. Sounds to me like you guys need to sit down and talk about your love languages. You'd be surprised how much you can learn, and be able to communicate better with a partner when you understand giving and receiving love. You can take the love language quiz online. There's a whole book on it, the whole 9 yards, but it breaks down to physical touch, or I think it's words and affirmations, gifts, quality time, like whatever, like everybody has something different. So also when it comes to relating, because Justice in Libra is about how we come together, the fact is like, to me, it looks like he's not checking in with you, or you guys aren't having that personal time together, or you guys aren't going on dates, or you guys aren't doing the things that you used to do. So it's like the relationship is falling apart because you're not still trying to like romance each other, or you're not kind of that same union, because Libra is where we come together. Like, what are your rituals like? Do you guys have dinner together? Do you guys make sure you go on a date night, once a month? Like, do you have that planned, night a month that you guys have sex? I mean, these are questions that I would be thinking about, because upon doing this, you're going to start to kind of realize that it's not just him not showing up for you, because in his mind, he thinks he's showing up for you. He's like, I'm working my ass off. I'm paying the bills. I'm trying to make my way professionally so I can provide for my family, blah, blah, blah. But at what cost, right? King of Pentacles reversed, at what cost? And so at some point, setting him down and going, I love you. I appreciate everything that you do, but I need you here, and I need these things to stay married. That needs to happen. And to me, it's like, there's one more round that you're going to have the opportunity to do this. And if you don't get this right in the fall, then yeah, then it does look like, you might be kind of realizing that he can't show up. But I would say have those conversations with him. And I do think that you need somebody else to do that. Because to me, he seems very distracted. And you said, he's working his ass off, and it's killing him emotionally and financially. If it's killing him emotionally, well, not financially, if it's killing him emotionally and energetically, and it's affecting his marriage, there is no job in the world that's worth that salary if at the end of the day you're not going to have a good relationship with your wife, and potentially she's going to leave you. And so you might need to rattle him and be like, that doesn't matter. We need to come up with other solutions for ways that we can find something that is going to work so we don't lose the family unit. Yeah, he's very detached. He's cold, man. That King of Pentacles reverse is just like, whatever, the bills are paid, And some people are like that, especially if they have a lot of earth in their chart. They can just be very much like, well, I'm here, I'm doing my part. But the actual relating, the relationship, the interaction, the union, this is like, like going on dates, having a glass of wine, having dinner together. Like, if you're not having that, and if you feel alone, then like, why are you married? I know this is hard, but I would give it a little bit more time. And I also feel like you're going to know in the fall. And if you do need to start that process, I would definitely say talk to an attorney. To me, this doesn't feel good, like working it out with him, because it'll be a lot of like either being really one-sided, or him telling you what he will or will not give you, or what he will and will not do for you. And I don't really think it's a smart move to try to do this without having some kind of like legal protection. So to me, it seems like you need somebody who's going to sit you down and be like, here's the deal. You've been married for so long. This is what you're entitled to, or this is how you should go about it. Like, to me, it feels like he's going to be so fixated on like how things financially affect you guys actually going through the divorce and that's even more disappointing if that ends up happening, where he's just like, well, you're not going to take my pension, or you're not going to have my health insurance, or like, I'm not giving you the house. Like, if it becomes like that, like, forget it, because that can happen. So if you start seeing things like that happening, it might be smart just to know your legal rights and know everything that's like really going on in terms of like the legality in the state that you're married. I hate to say that. Sometimes I gotta tell the truth. Give it until the fall. Hopefully that's helpful. All right. Good morning from the UK. Good morning. It looks like I got something here from Sapphire. What a pretty name. I live in a duplex. Neighbor is going aggro about my parking spot. I do feel intimidated. It was suggested she wants my flat. What's going on? Time to move. Danger. Will it pass? I'm interested to know what your astrology is, if you know your sun, moon, rising. That sounds like very like all of these, oppositions between, Pluto and Cancer. Like, we had Mars make an opposition in Cancer to Pluto, and that's like domestic conflicts. And then we had Venus just recently, and we're going to have the Sun and Mercury and some other things. And Mercury is always neighbors, right? Dealing with neighbors and stuff. even now, I think the Mercury retrograde that's been going on in Gemini square Neptune is like, you know, seeing where people are being kind of shady or where neighbors are being kind of difficult to deal with or lots of challenging communication. I'm a Virgo rising. She's a Leo. Man, Leos will tell you. They feel like everybody's coming for them this year. Sag, Virgo rising. So sun in the 4th. You know, you do have the eclipses that have been happening in the 4th house. And all of those squares to your ascendant, which is very mercurial, is like a lot of like back and forth. So let's see what the cards say. I will tell you that there's a lot of stuff in your astrology that keeps bringing up stuff pertaining to movement, okay? Especially now that you've got the South Node. It's either still moving through your 4th or it's going into your 3rd. So you want to pay attention because you can deal with enough back and forth that you finally decide to move. But Leos are going to be pretty fierce and combative over the next 2 weeks. Really, it's like the first 2 weeks of July and the first 2 weeks of August when we see like these Uranus-Saturn squares perfect with Mars. It's going to be a lot of conflict, a lot of standoff. Okay, thank you, Brittany. We saw you. We'll get you next. All right, Sapphire, let's see what's up with this duplex that you're living in. Six of Wands, the Hermit, Wheel of Fortune. You know, one thing I'll tell you is it does make me feel like opportunities are going to present itself if you do decide that you want to move, and it may not necessarily be bad. Like, nothing here makes me feel like you're going to be harmed in any way. Let me say that, just for starters. It's addressing you personally because you are the Hermit card. So it is kind of saying like stay in your lane, you know, Hermit reversed. It is kind of talking about like being fearful coming and going in and out of your home, or that, you know, you're fearful of like stirring the pot or creating any other issues. Six of Wands reversed is about being victorious. Even when it's reversed, it's like small victories. So like small victories in this situation would be like, you know, a landlord having your back and being like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to talk to her. And if this behavior continues, you know, we're going to ask her to leave. Because if she's starting shit with people continually, because I have a feeling it may not just be you, because there's multiple people involved in this card, that there could be other complaints about this person too. So part of me wonders, has that already happened? But I see you being victorious, or that this being something that kind of passes or comes to pass within about 6 weeks. But still, you know, within 6 months, there can be a move. Just be mindful of that. The Hermit card reversed is, what concerns me more is that you seem fearful about coming and going. And you did mention that you're kind of like, well, you know, I'm kind of like freaked out, like, you know, like what's going on? Do I think she wants your space? Probably, looking at the cards, but that doesn't mean that you have to move or that you're going to move. Like letting her intimidate you into being like, okay, I'm going to leave is not the answer. Equally, if you feel like you're in danger, or if you feel like it's not safe, like you need to express this to your landlord. You have to, because if that kind of behavior continues, it's going to make you freaked out. It's going to make you freaked out about whether or not your car is safe. It's going to make you freaked out about whether or not you're going to be threatened. Okay, so let me know if that helps. And then the Wheel of Fortune is basically saying like this is going to get wrapped up. Wheel of Fortune reverse is still positive, but once again, little victories. So the Wheel of Fortune also makes me kind of feel like this could be a blessing in disguise, because if this person acts like a psycho and they keep acting like this, like they might be evicted. So you might just get rid of the problem altogether because they shoot themselves in the foot, right? Or it could be a situation where, you know, it ends up manifesting and working out for you, where you basically say to your landlord, look, either you do something about this, or I'm going to start contacting the authorities, and I don't want to have to do that. But, you know, it's either that or you let me out of my lease, right? Because if you're feeling threatened by somebody else in the building and they're not doing anything about it, I would say that's pretty much grounds for being able to break your lease if you really had to. So the Wheel of Fortune reverse is saying little victories, look for that. The wheel turning. I mean, part of what's going on is you know, if you've got these eclipses in your 4th house and you've got these retrogrades in your 10th house, it feels like there's so much stuff that's triggering you about your authority and your control in the world, and whether that's control of your job, control over other people, and like learning to be more, I think, direct. You know, the North Node's probably still hanging out somewhere either in your 10th house or around your midheaven. So it's like a time where you have the opportunity to really be more of an authority in your own life. And like, if people fuck with you, it's like a time to be like, no, don't come for me. You better not come for me, because I'm going to call the landlord, or I'm going to call the cops. I also just feel intuitively that if you say something about your security for your safety to the landlord, they will either do something that is going to be like, they will do something. Like, they will either put cameras out, or they'll put like a statement out, or they'll talk about the fact that they're adding more security to the space, or whatever. Like, they'll do something to basically be like, look, we don't want you to feel this way. And so even that in itself, like, you know, having them post up signs saying like, hey, we're amping up security, or we're putting, you know, security cameras inside of the parking structure. You know, better not fuck with anything. Like, if somebody does threaten you, if somebody does key your car, they're gonna get seen, right? And so I've known a lot of Virgo risings who have a lot of other mutable in their chart. They don't like people messing with their car. Like, that's one thing that they're really weird about. They don't like people dirtying their car or scratching their car, or they'll park far away because they don't want anybody screwing with it or whatever. They can be really particular about it. And so that can be very triggering for you. But the Wheel of Fortune makes me feel like you can't let this make you feel like you're not at home. Okay, so it's very, very important that you share these concerns with the landlord. And I would look for the small victories. Like, maybe they don't kick her out, but they take action to be able to like make it safer, make you feel more comfortable. And if you're still in this situation at the end of the year, when you've got some of the eclipses that are going to start happening in your 3rd, like, moving is almost unavoidable in a way. And you'll hear a lot for like Sages, because I know you're a Virgo rising, but if you're listening to the horoscope for Sag, you'll hear things like, oh, Jupiter's going into your 4th house. Is it time for a new home? Like, are you relocating? Are you going to a different place? Like, are you going to a place that has a pool? Are you moving closer to a lake? Are you moving to a place where it's closer to the beach? So for Sages, there's a great opportunity for there to be changes and like feeling like much happier with where they're living. Believe it or not, for you, for Virgo rising, Jupiter's going into your 7th. So part of what's perfecting over this next year is the opportunity to move and then meet somebody, or move in with a partner, or a relationship develops to the point where a partner wants to move in with you. So part of this change that's coming, it might be encouraging you to like move further into union with another person, right? Especially if you end up meeting somebody who lives somewhere else. Anyway, I hope that it was helpful. Looks like we got a couple other people in the queue. So we do have Brittany. I saw some people sent some texts and stuff saying that they sent PayPal. I'm checking that. Okay. Those of you guys who are still watching, what's up? Some people just like to sit back and watch these things. It's so interesting. I haven't done that recently, but maybe I should more often, because some people were saying like, oh yeah, this reminds me of what's going on in my life. Okay, so Nancy's back. Somebody's asking about an interview. Kristen's, hey, what's up, girl? And Angeli. Okay, so we got a couple people. All right, so let's see what's going on with Brittany. Capricorn Sun, Cancer Moon, Cancer Rising. So stuck right now. Capricorn Sun, what's your, do you know your degrees for your Rising and your Moon? And your, well, I'm more concerned with your Sun, but there's a new Moon in Cancer coming, so do not fear. That will be really good for your chart, especially if you have all that water in your chart. Thanks, Sapphire. You're welcome. So let's see what's up. Capricorn Sun, Cancer Moon, Cancer Sun and Moon. So I wonder, does it fall in your 7th house or does it fall in your 6th house? Let me know. Part of it is also like, you know, like the month before your birthday, like there's a lot of clearing out, right? Because, you know, you've got the sun 12 signs away from your natal sun. So there can be like this cosmic clearing energy that comes up right before your birthday when planets go into Gemini, coming out of a retrograde that's also been 12 signs away from you, and an eclipse 12 signs away from you. So it can feel like a time where you need to retreat, and there's much more of a need to heal, and you definitely can feel much more anxious. Now, being a Capricorn rising, all of this energy has actually been happening in your 8th. So it's dealing with like purging, detoxes, clearing. I mean, you know, ritual clearing can be really, really helpful. Thank you, Ethereal. Appreciate it. Cool. Thanks for watching my podcast, Angie. Those of you guys who aren't aware, I have a podcast that's kind of fun. I do it with the Peace Stealer. It comes out every Sunday, actually. Audio, but you want to wait and you really want to see the video because the video comes out on Mondays. It's the Midheaven podcast where we talk about current events, astrology. It's really comedic and we just drink and basically talk shit. But it's good because we talk a lot about astrology, so it can be really quite helpful for people who are learning, and I think it's a little bit less stuffy than a lot of other astrology stuff that's out there. And if you guys go and you subscribe to that podcast, if you're into it, you can actually support the channel and help it keep growing because we're all self-funded. And yeah, we have new subscriptions. So you can get shout outs, and you can also get, we have it possible. So if you just get in at the lowest level and you contribute monthly, I think for like $4.99 or like $5, you're going to get the early access. You don't have to wait until Monday for the video. You can get the video every Saturday. So you'll get it before other people see it. Okay, so let's see what's going on with Brittany. I didn't see a response from you. Let me scroll through here. There we go. 7th house, 18 degrees. Okay. So you're out of your Saturn-Pluto opposition. So that's really good, actually. Really good. Jupiter coming into Pisces is going to be really good for you next year also. It's going to make all those trines. All right, so let's see what you need to know from feeling stuck. Ace of Swords reversed, Death card, the Chariot. Woo, girl. Hold on to your pants. Couple things. You know, here's the thing. For me, personally, when I see the Death card, I'm not really freaked out about it. I feel like being a Scorpio, I kind of like welcome that energy because part of what I've learned is that when you let something go, it brings something new, whether it's new life, new opportunities, whatever. It's like really kind of appreciating when something comes to an end naturally. So my real Death card actually is the Ace of Swords for me personally, especially when it's reversed. So I'm wondering, like, are you grieving? Do you feel like something died on you? Do you feel like something let you down? Was there some kind of disappointment? Did somebody cut you off? Did like, what happened? Because for these two cards to come up together, it can be talking about grief and moving away from something where you almost feel like you've been like grieving a loss or grieving a death. It can be a relationship, a person, whatever. If you have that Capricorn rising, and you have come out of what's been several long years with Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter in your first house, which should have manifested as like a lot of like broken relationships or like being really challenged in terms of how you get along with other people and how you respond to people. It didn't have to be something that happened recently, but you're still moving through that. I feel like for the Ace of Swords to be coming up with two major arcana cards, like, change is coming and it's coming quick. Chariot is the card for Cancer. So it's saying that renewal's on the way. I think it's mirroring what I was seeing about that new moon in Cancer, which can be really potent for you if you already are double Cancer. I think that this also talks about finding a way to move the energy, moving grief out of your body. It may also be that there needs to be a physical move, or that there's a trip coming, or that there's something that's coming that's going to kind of re-energize you and, like, you know, project you forward. The Chariot's a card that talks about getting all of your ducks in a row. and really having a plan and like knowing where you're going and knowing how to get there and keeping your eyes on the prize. And traditionally, you know, you've got one horse that's white and one horse that's black, and one's kind of calm and mellow and the other one's just going bananas. And having to kind of pull those reins in a little bit and strategize and get everything really kind of together so you can get to where you need to go. So I see this card come up where I'm like, listen, like things are going to change very quickly. You got to have a plan. You got to be ready for this. This can also be talking about shifting your energy through moving or movement, whether it's Tai Chi, whether you want to just focus on going for walks, you want to get a little bit better acclimated with just movement in your body and releasing grief out of your body. It may physically be in your bones, Capricorn. So that grief can be all of the stuff that's coming up, just of all of the things that you haven't dealt with the last couple of years or things that you haven't acknowledged. I'd be interested to hear, like, are you having a lot of reactions with your skin? Really hard breakup right after losing. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. So, you know, you're moving out of the grief. It's like literally two deaths, one that was literal and one that was more emotional, right? So the cards are spooky fucking accurate. I have to make a note every moon Pluto, we're going to do this. What I will tell you is that probably the most beautiful thing is that it's saying that loss, that pain or whatever, it's projecting you forward. Like, it's like, okay, we're moving on. We're not just being stuck in that whole perpetual state of, okay, well, it's over, you know, like I can't get out of it. Cancer is really, it's really hard for any Cancerian placement to move on from the past. I just want you to know that. Like, or those of you guys who are watching, if you have like a really strong moon or if you've got like a lot of fourth house energy, because the Cancer deals with the end of matters or the root of issues or the emotional root of issues, I get the impression like there's been a lot of you just trying to survive and just trying to survive some of the stuff that's been going on and just working through it and just not acknowledging it. And it sounds like the eclipse that happened in Gemini, which was in your 6th house, and also the retrograde in Gemini, 6th house, health, mental anxiety, stomach, dietary stuff, digestion. Really everything, it's like everything, bam, hit you all at one time. And you can have lower energy, you can feel sick, there can be some health stuff going on. And I think it's just all stuff that's been repressed, to be honest with you. And so now you're realizing that the mental, emotional very much affects the physical. And it can be really hard for you to, you know, move forward and not acknowledge some of this stuff. And what I've seen just for a lot of people with Cap rising, or if there's a lot of strong oppositions, is that either your stomach or your bones, Cancer and Capricorn, are going to really start telling you like, hey, there's something wrong. Get moving, yoga, right? Yoga is really helpful, especially with Saturn that's going through Aquarius in your 8th house, like Kundalini yoga, reactivating that, you know, sacred energy, getting more aligned with your body. Saturn mudras can be really helpful. I'm super Saturn dominant. I don't know if you guys can tell. I'm like so serious all the time, but like I've got 4 planets in Capricorn and I've got Jupiter in my 10th house. So I really understand that need to just get really strong and structured, and have had so many experiences that are very similar to what you're describing in my life, that literally what didn't kill me made me stronger. And so part of what I see for your cards is like literally what hasn't killed you has made you stronger. And now it's time to kind of put that in its place. Like sometimes, you know, Ace of Swords is like severing and doing something ritually to cut the cord, to like actually energetically do that. And one way that you can do that is like through a meditation where you can like visualize and like do the cord cutting and like really kind of detach from that person emotionally and like shut yourself off from still kind of being in that perpetual state of like coulda, shoulda, woulda, or like, you know, what are they doing now? And trying to stop the mental pattern of rehashing the past, because there's a lot of rehashing the past that's going on right now, and it's really, you can't do it anymore. 2 is the physical death from the dog, and the rebirth makes me wonder, like, you know, are you opening your heart up to getting another animal, right? Are you opening up yourself to like, you know, doing something in honor of the dog for the dog's like, you know, 1 year passing? Like, have you really put the dog to rest? Like, do you have the ashes? Do they need to be released? Does there need to be something that you do to also kind of honor and like let that go so you can bring in that new energy?
And it's hard. I had to put my dog down. He was like 16. He was like my kid. I've had him half my life. I'd put my dog down in April, and it was a really, really hard thing to do. And I feel like it was harder for me to grieve that death than a lot of other human deaths in my life. So losing a pet, it's just, it's really hard. But, you know, Chariot says like you're building yourself back up emotionally and you're taking charge emotionally. So it is talking about needing to do the emotional work. And you're a Cancer, you know, you need emotional cleansing. Like you do need to be taking baths, and you do need to be, you know, taking naps, and you do need to be doing all those Cancerian things and being more nurturing to yourself. And when you can do that and you can kind of come back stronger, in the future, you're going to be more protective of your energy, and you're going to be more protective and aware of your emotions, and you're not going to let things jerk you around. So people kind of sleep on Cancer. It's cardinal energy. It's very reactionary. It wants to take charge. So this change is coming. Do something ritually, I think, on the new moon in Cancer that's coming up. And well, we just had the full moon, so in about 2 weeks. And it's really important that you sit down and be very clear about what you're getting rid of. And the best thing you can actually do is on the black moon, so it'll be the day before the new moon. This is when the sky is the darkest. That's when I like to do banishing work. That's when I like to cut cords. That's when I'm just like, nope, I'm, you know, not eating donuts anymore, or excuse me, or, you know, I'm putting away this bad habit, or I'm getting rid of this person. Do it the day before the new moon. Do like a cord cutting and actually write it out. And I would say like you want to write it out and release it, or you want to find a vessel or a container for all of either the things that remind you of the relationship or all the things that you want to let go of, and you want to find a way to kind of like ritualize it or bury it. This is like having a funeral. So have your one last night of like crying it out about the ex and everything that's gone on, and then put everything in a box and fucking bury it. You know, whatever you have to do to ritualize the fact that, okay, now new growth. And that you really want to do this when you have the new moon, because what the Chariot's going to do is it's going to basically bring in a brand new energy for you. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful. Sending lots of love to you, Brittany. That is challenging, but you're coming back stronger. You need some Kelly Clarkson in your life, girl. Don't make me sing the song. I'm tone deaf. All right, so moving on to, let's see. Nancy's back. Wanted to submit another question. I love the previous question. What do I need to know about, whether it be about life, love, job stuff? Okay, thanks, Nancy. We do have a last call on the readings, guys, so we're going to shut it down probably in the next couple minutes. So what does Nancy need to be aware of? King of Swords reversed, the Devil. Queen of Swords. Who are you trying to quit, Nancy? Who are you trying to quit? I love this deck. This deck has a very different Devil card than the other decks. Sometimes they come in and they make all these changes. Pisces Sun, Libra Rising, Gemini Moon. Ooh, I'm really interested to hear what's been going on with your life. A lot of action, huh? There's been a lot of action if you're a Libra Rising and you've got Gemini anything, because we've had the eclipses and the nodal transits all having conversations with your 5th house and also with your ascendant. Thank you for that. It really helps me really kind of like hone in on like where you're at in your life right now. I'm like super visual. I'm like, you can always see like the wheels in my mind turning where I'm like visualizing the chart. So, you know, one thing that I will say to you is with the King of Swords reversed and the Queen of Swords upright with the Devil sandwiched in between, this tells me that there can be like a lot of like reflecting on whether or not somebody's going to reach out to you, whether or not you reach out to somebody else, thinking about somebody a lot, noticing that there's some kind of an imbalance happening. This is about breaking away from like, you know, mental struggles or communication struggles with another person. Now, the King of Swords can be coming up for a man, or it can be, you know, just somebody who you're not communicating very well with, or maybe you haven't heard from them. I don't know if there was like a lot of you like waiting and seeing during this last retrograde if you're going to hear back from somebody or if somebody is going to return. Certainly the retrogrades in your chart have been really interesting because as far as I'm concerned, you know, having a retrograde in your 5th is like thinking more so about what your heart wanted in February. Now having a retrograde in your ninth is like, well, what do you believe when it comes to learning, knowledge, information, exchanging of ideas? What are you reworking about your beliefs in love, and whether or not, you know, something or somebody is going to come through. It also can manifest as like thinking more about, you know, what's going on with your career. But to me, this seems like somebody's either not communicating effectively, or you're finally kind of putting the kibosh on something where it's been like really mentally taxing and really stressful with the lack of communication. So let me know if that's kind of what's going on. Then we have Queen of Swords. So the card is addressing you specifically. She's upright, fully functional. She can communicate. She knows what she wants. She knows what she doesn't want. She's very direct, and she's very matter of fact. The Devil reversed, sandwiched between you two, tells me that you're letting go and finally unwinding and pulling out of like somebody who has their strings attached to you. Divorced last year after 20 years, met my twin flame 5 years ago. So this is, well, what is your communication like with another person right now, right? Are you trying to like let go of like the fixation and whether or not they call you or whether or not they come back? Is there being something else that's being shown to you? You're being really supported with what's going on in your chart right now. And I would say if you find yourself really fixated on whether or not they reach out to you, like the energy is saying it's more about pouring that energy into yourself and getting really laser focused with like what you think, what you have to say. It's very air, so it's a little bit more detached, masculine, like not emotional. It's just very matter of fact. And so for you to be a Libra, you know, and this to be coming up, it's basically talking about your intellect and your ability to communicate and to kind of really like cut through the bullshit. And so the Devil reversed can be telling me that there are things that are coming undone, and part of it is through your detachment from a particular outcome, or you feeling like you're bound to something that won't let you really evolve, right? It's all coming undone. And this is good because it's like, you know, if some of the cards need to fall, if there's a situation that's going on where, you know, somebody needs to go through some shit and they need to sort their shit out before they can come back into your life, know that that's what's happening right now. Untanglement. Somebody is trying to untangle themselves from a situation. So if he's tangled up at work, if he can't talk to you because he's got a wife, if he's like whatever's going on here, he has to detangle himself. And you not talking to him right now is probably the best fucking thing that could have happened to you, to be honest with you, because that's not your stuff. You're taking on his stuff. And so the Devil reversed is about breaking patterns, breaking habits. And to me, this almost seems like a standoff that can be going on where you're like, I'm not calling him. I'm not going to call him. I'm not going to break down. I'm not going to call him. It's not going to be me. He's going to have to call me. Make sure that you're doing that because you're sticking to your guns. It's not like a pride or an ego thing. It's like, no, he really shouldn't call you until he has something to fucking offer you. Unless he can show up and unless he can communicate consistently and not be feeding you bullshit or lying to you or telling you that he's going to show up, but he doesn't, no mas. You don't talk to him. Stand your ground. Know that if he didn't come back during February or this last month, granted the retrograde shadow is going to be quite wild, so you never know. Right now he's not reaching or he's not communicating well, so let him be. You'll have your time, you'll have your moment. There's going to be an opportunity for you to speak your piece and say what you got to say. I think that's going to come during the retrograde Libra, so wait for that because that's very heavily supported with Saturn. That's very heavily supported with the nodes. And I kind of feel like a retrograde over your moon is about reevaluating how you feel and whether or not you feel like you're in control of your emotions. So it's not really about him, it's more about you. Realize that the power lies with you, and it's not that he's not talking to you, it's that you're not putting up with his bullshit anymore. So when he has something to offer you, okay, talk to him. But I wouldn't try to rush this. Hopefully that was helpful. Here we go. Results of an upcoming interview. Who is this? Who is this? I've talked to you before. I recognize your name, but I don't remember your name. Thank you, Nancy. Send and packing, girl. Okay, guys, we're going to shut down the readings. Everybody who has paid, you'll get your reading, don't worry. So we're going to read for Thompson, then we've got Kristen, then we've got Angie. Let me see. I think somebody else snuck in there. Yeah, and Austin. Okay, so results for an upcoming interview. Hi Maria. There you are. It's nice to see you again. So this is results for your interview. They're still undecided. What star sign are you? Queen of Cups reverse. Seems like this is a little nerve-wracking. Emotionally being like, am I going to get it? Am I not going to get it? Six of Swords and the Moon card talks about being in limbo. So be mindful. It can be like 6 days, 6 weeks. It can be them kind of being like, well, we still haven't made a decision yet. We need to get back to you. I feel like it's important that you follow up with them. Like, you know, within probably at least 6 days. Follow up with them because there may not even be like a response, or people may not get back to you unless you're on top of them. Queen of Cups reversed is like you getting kind of emotionally stressed out about whether or not, you know, you're going to get it or not, kind of driving yourself crazy, like reacting to like, okay, well, what's going to happen? It also might be playing a bigger role on you making decisions pertaining to where you live or where you're going. So like this can come up and be like, okay, well, is it smart for me? Like, can I take this trip? Like, am I going to commit to going on a trip and then find out I have to work? Or, you know, me working and like where I live somehow kind of affects each other. Sag, Sun, Virgo Ascendant. So Mercury retrograde your 10th, an eclipse in your 10th. I wonder a lot of like how the job pans out or whether or not you get the job. Is it going to affect where you live? Can you tell me that? Sag, Sun, and Virgo Ascendant, very similar to that other person that we were talking to. You know, here's what I will tell you. The Moon card makes me feel like that whatever you intuitively feel like is going to happen, and part of this is separating intuition from anxiety, right? And that can be a really hard thing to do. The Moon card does make me feel like there won't be a lot of clarity, or that they won't necessarily get back to you in a timely manner, or that if you don't reach out to them, that it might get overlooked. The Six of Swords does talk about being in limbo. So it can be something like, well, we still want to hire somebody, but not yet. We're not sure yet. Like it's still working itself out. You don't come out of Mercury square Neptune, Mercury in your 10th house, square Neptune that's hanging out in your 6th or your 7th, depending on your chart, really until about the 8th or the 9th of July. The shadow is really going to affect you. So usually people come back during the retrograde. The retrograde's over, but it's still playing out for a little bit. Yeah, so yes, in Korea, now in the US. Yeah, I mean, personally, I feel like if you're trying to get a job in the States, you know, it can be something that does take more planning. Like it says that, yeah, there is going to be a move that's going to happen. We know that with your astrology too, as Jupiter, you know, moves closer into your 7th house, but it may not pan out for about 6 months. You might want to look for that closer to the full moon in Cancer. I do feel like if they don't give you a clear answer, or they're not direct, or they can't, you know, support you being able to come here through documentation or whatever, like move on. Like you need to keep it moving, because you are going to move. You are going to move overseas. It's a boat. But it may not manifest for about 6 months. There also seems to be stuff that's coming up about whether or not that's going to be a good fit for you emotionally. You know, is this something that you really want to do emotionally? You're lining up with your astrology 100% bang on. So I am very confident that I do feel like this is probably most likely to be coming all together closer to the end of this year. So especially Sag season, and when we see that we're coming into like the full moon that's going to be in Gemini, that's about some kind of like, okay, taking the job. So give it 6 months. But something about this makes me feel like you're not getting all the facts, or that they're not being super clear with you. So follow up with them. If they don't give you a direction, keep it moving, keep looking. Know that part of these transits that are happening in your 10th house right now are actually trying to set you up for a new job. So it will happen. It may not be this one. And I would say really thoroughly feel that out. All right. Hopefully that was helpful for you. Something else also just about Jupiter going into Pisces, because it is the ruler of your 4th house. It does talk about you moving to a foreign place, or going and being in another place because you're going to meet a foreigner and you'll end up living with them. Just a heads up. So that makes me feel like you are going to move. All right. So now we've got Kristen. What's going on, girl? How are you doing? Your sexual energy has been whack for a while. I'm 39. Sure, I need some deep healing wounds, but I was hoping you could pull a card if you have any advice on how Stella can get her groove back. That's my favorite. Thank you. Well, wasn't like the retrograde and all the eclipses in your 5th house? So that is about getting your groove back, being able to be like more like changeable and communicative about what you need sexually. Yeah, I remember your chart. Aqua rising, Scorpio sun. You know, part of what's going on for the Scorpio suns, my sun's at 19 degrees, so I'm gearing up for this because Uranus is going to oppose my sun and it's going to square Saturn on my north node. Kundalini is really helpful for Scorpios in this next year. Kundalini, Tantra, you know, Bhakti yoga, anything that's really, really kind of working with like the spiritual side of what's going on with your Scorpio energy. And you'll be in that for about 2 years, okay? Uranus will actually, it'll be closer to 2023 that you'll be experiencing the opposition and then the square. So it becomes about, well, how do I go deeper sexually? And, you know, am I having sex or am I actually really, really focusing on being able to enjoy the union? Am I going deeper? Am I creating something? For many Scorpios, they're going to realize that, you know, sex is going to be more than just something that you do for fun. It's something that you're focusing on doing for growth and for healing and growing closer to another person or to have a kid. So be mindful of that. Had a dark night of the soul last week, and I hope that cleared. Well, let's see what the cards say about Stella getting her groove back. 9 of Swords. So the anxiety about whether or not your groove does come back, right? Whether or not you see that this flushes out, whether or not you get to the other side of it. Personally, Saturn on your ascendant right now, or close to your ascendant, and then coming into a trine with your moon, tells me that you need somebody who's going to be really communicative romantically. It also tells me that, you know, Saturn can be really testing you. It depends on if Saturn is on your ascendant or not. So looks like your rising is 27. So Saturn's actually is in your 12th house. So meditation, 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 reflection. It may feel like a dark night of the soul really until Saturn comes into conjunction with your ascendant, and then there's going to be a brand new you. So what can come from that is a lot of like depression, feeling kind of gloomy, feeling kind of dark, that need to retreat. Certainly fear can come up, but Saturn having a conversation with your moon is very, very, very important, because both with Jupiter on your ascendant and the north node somewhere around your moon, part of me wonders, like, is there this thing going on subconsciously for you where you feel like you need to nurture a child? And if you have a kid, it's what's your relationship with your kid. If you haven't had children, it's you reflecting and going, well, you know, do I feel like I should have had a kid? What am I creating and giving birth to, right? That's like that conversation with your moon in the 5th. And this lack of feeling like you have something to nurture. And nurturing doesn't always have to be a child. It can be nurturing a project, you know, writing a book, you know, working on your own business. And I could see where maybe you felt creatively blocked and you need something that's going to kind of like blow through all of that. I feel for you that's going to definitely come full circle, and there's going to be a lot of clarity about what you can learn and how you better express yourself in the fall. So, you know, any Aquarius, Gemini energy is going to benefit from all of these retrogrades. I feel like it's about bringing something new to the mix, whether it's another person or being more communicative about what you want sexually, and like letting go of all of the anxiety about it not coming back. Sometimes, like, when the 9 of Swords comes up, people are so freaked out that something, you know, is or isn't going to happen that they don't let the energy flow. So that over fixation on like, oh, you know, am I ever going to want to have sex again? Am I ever going to date again? Am I ever going to get into the ability to do that again? Can stifle your ability to even let that come in, right? So it's managing stress better. Scorpios need to have sex pretty regularly to deal with their temperament, to deal with their anxiety. And Gemini is 8 signs away from Scorpio. So part of the way that I see your chart is, you know, what is happening for you on a very, you know, personal level where you don't have an outlet for that. And Gemini can be like, well, do you need to be talking about it? Do you need to be, you know, sexting somebody? Like literally, like, do you need somebody who's going to be more communicative and like trying to kind of get you out of your cage? And you really need something that's going to help you release that energy, because when you're having like a regular healthy sex life, whether that's like with yourself or with a partner, you're going to feel more creatively like the juices are flowing. So something about your sex life and also your creativity, they go hand in hand. So what are you not creating, right? What are you not focusing on? So it's about being more youthful and more playful with your 5th house, like going on dates and being able to maybe have more than one person you can talk to, and maybe intimacy stemming from learning to become more secure and even talking to somebody before you get to that stage of like the physical intimacy is kind of the vibe that I get. Carnelian can be really good. I know you work with crystals. Carnelian can be really good. Tangerine quartz can be really good for like sexual energy and kind of getting that like moving again. Jaspers can be good for that. I really like carnelian, but I have an Aries moon, so I can't really wear it because I get too sassy. But definitely for like working with that sexual energy, I think carnelian and tangerine quartz can be really helpful, or any of the crystals that are going to work specifically with the root chakra, and kind of getting that more so kind of stimulated and working again. So I would say focus on releasing this fear that it's never going to get better, because that's the first step. When you overcome that and go, okay, I acknowledge it, but I'm not going to let it run the show, and I'm aware that there's a block there, but I would really like to release it. Then you're not going to be so kind of tangled up in the fact that it's like, oh my God, like I'm not usually like this, like what's going on, right? It's just releasing that energy. You need an energy or an anxiety release. Okay, it'll help you sleep better too, just so you know. It's like I feel like sometimes I have my tarot therapist hat on, sometimes I have my sex therapist hat on, and I would be like, well, are you having sex before you go to bed? Because it's probably going to help you sleep better. And if you're not sleeping with somebody, then you need to be doing something for yourself before you go to sleep at night, and it's probably going to totally have you waking up in a much better energy sense. And once you get those energies flowing as a Scorpio more consistently, you'll find that it's a part of your routine, and then you're just gonna need it more, and you're gonna be more communicative that you need it. Yay, you ordered the carnelian. Yeah, really good. Yep, perfect. Really good for you. It's gonna get better, I promise. You're gonna see once the anxiety kind of falls off, it's gonna get better. But that, the Kundalini stuff or anything pertaining to like Shakti work and other things, it's gonna wake that stuff back up. Okay, and that'll be a 2-year process for you. Hopefully that was helpful. Nice hearing from you again. Angeli, love and money. All right, girl, let's give Angeli a card on love and money. Nine of Wands. Well, the struggle is over, so it's about overcoming things, being able to get to the other side. It feels like it's been a little bit of a rough run in both of these topics or both of these situations. A 9, I see that as like a wrapping up energy. Like 10 would be the completion. So it's like, if you look at this card, it's like, a soldier coming out of battle. It's somebody who's kind of battle worn, like having had a lot of challenges and opposition and things that have been going on recently pertaining to finances and also relationship stuff or love stuff. And you're kind of like beat up and you're recovering from that. 26-degree Pisces Sun, Gemini rising, 21 Libra, but Aquarius is your MC. So Pisces, so you're Gemini rising. I'm trying to figure this out. Give me 1 second. 0 degrees rising, your sun is in Pisces. Okay, and then Libra moon. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Part of what I would say is, from my perspective of what's going on in your life right now, it seems to me like Neptune is really going to start doing a number on you. It's getting closer and closer to your sun. So I would definitely pay attention to that transit, because it can feel like kind of like lonely, or it can feel like kind of like isolating. Also, it can be really about spiritual breakthroughs, especially if you're a 26 Pisces, you're a little bit more so grounded than most people. So with the retrograde in your first house and the North Node in your first house, there is a lot of coming into union with yourself and your body and focusing on you, and whether that's how your body is responding to some of the changes that you've had going on recently, how you feel being on your own, how you feel taking care of yourself, how you're presenting yourself, that you're coming out of what's been a real clearing in like the last year and a half. This makes me wonder, have you had a lack of self-care because you feel like, money's been more challenging or relationships have been more challenging and you're just kind of spent? So, 9 of Wands is saying it is coming to a wrap, like you're wrapping some of this stuff, like you're wrapping having been in a situation where you feel like it's all landed on you, right? And as Saturn is, you know, dancing in Aquarius, it is trining all of the stuff that you've got going on in your ascendant. So even though you've lost the trine, there's been Mercury aspects and all kinds of other things. You know, Neptune is going to be on top of your sun for a while. I would say it's probably worth either studying on that transit or getting a reading and talking to somebody. And you're also coming out of having had Pluto square your moon the last like year and a half. So yeah, it's been a lot of emotional challenges, domestic relationship challenges, and you're coming to the end, you're wrapping this up. So I do feel like this is like now like reflecting on everything that's gone on. And then next would be the 10 of Wands, which is like this release of just being like, okay, I can let it go now. So you're coming into that, but it makes me feel like you have definitely kind of been put through the ringer, okay? But it's not becoming too attached to what has happened to you. Like, people can become so perpetually in a state of telling the same story. Like, okay, my relationships always go this way. My health always goes this way. My life always goes this way. That if you're constantly saying that and you're telling the same story over and over, like, it's going to keep happening because you become attached to the fact that that is the narrative of the situation. My advice is don't be attached to the narrative of how things have gone. Be more focused on where you're going and like actually healing. Because if you're perpetually in the state of, well, these things never work out and feeling victimized by certain events, it's almost like you're not actually going to be able to move forward. There's something like very, very, very healing about just being like, well, and that's what happened and I'm letting it go. And in doing that, you can actually release it, because that would be the next step. So yes, you've been beat up, but I'm just going to plug that Kelly Clarkson song again. Because it kind of reminds me of the other reading I was just doing for somebody else. And just reflecting on what's happened. But, you know, kind of like in this image, you see like all the bodies have fallen, the war's over, you know, he's the last man standing, he survived. So it does talk about you kind of like having a much stronger kind of standing in both of these topics now that you've gone through whatever that you've gone through, and like you're really solid, right? Because there's a lot of life and a lot of livelihood left here. Hopefully that's helpful. That's why I like this deck. This deck is so, I don't know, man. Something about this deck, I can really read it very well. All right, so we are on the last reading of the evening. Also, wait a second. You paid for 3 cards. I'm going to give you your other 2 cards. I apologize. I'm just now seeing this. So let's pick the other 2 cards for you. So 9 of Wands, followed by the Page of Swords, followed by the Page of Cups. New beginnings in how you communicate, especially expressing your feelings. You're coming into new emotional territory. You know, pages are initiations, not like an ace. It's more like you moving more in the direction of being able to just start something new. So learning how to communicate and express yourself differently. And it's really about talking about your feelings, because we've got the Page of Cups. This can also be talking about like new love coming into your life, a new relationship, something sweet. It can be with a water sign or it can be with an air sign. It's also about the beginning stages of just kind of getting into the habit of like talking to somebody again. This is like more about emotionally connecting with someone. This is the Victorian Romantic deck, and these are collectible decks. So this is, I think, the 3rd edition. You're not going to find this. It's sold out on the website. This is like a big-time collector's deck. If you find one of these on the internet, you're going to pay probably between $400 and like $700, I think, for the deck. They're affordable if you buy them when they come out. So if you really like this deck and you don't want to spend that much money, you may still be able to catch the pre-order on Baba Studios online for their 4th edition. I just bought I think 3 or 4 decks, because I think this is the last print they're going to make. So if you don't want to pay a really expensive pretty penny to buy it from some collector, go and see if you can get on that pre-order. Otherwise, you're going to pay for it. So learning how to communicate differently with your water moon, okay, boyfriend. So yeah, so, you know, Page of Swords is just communicating and like being like really vulnerable and communicating like how you're feeling, and the fact that, you know, you're just learning how to start kind of expressing how you feel in a different way now. And it's like, be gentle with yourself, because you're still kind of growing into this and learning how to acknowledge certain emotions, or learning how to, you know, stand up for yourself a little bit more now. It's good that you're doing that. Air, sun, water, moon, that's hard because they can be like really kind of like aloof and detached, and then their feelings hit them later. I don't know who that, My Flowers Speak Tarot use. I went to buy another and changed my mind quickly. Huh. I would say, I don't know, it's just a personal thing. I've actually been buying this particular deck since it came out. And I think I got the first deck when I was like, man, I want to say I was like 18 or 19. It was a long time ago because now I'm in my 30s. So I've been collecting these for a very long time. Yeah, well, I literally first readings tonight were with these cards. So it's really, I really like the personality of this deck. Those of you guys who have and collect tarot decks, you know, they all have their own unique little personality, right? And so this one's just kind of like, ta-da! Like, she's really doing her thing on the internet tonight. She likes the attention. So you haven't been in a relationship for 6 years and now you're doing it. I think it's really great, and I would say continue what you're doing with that, and don't be attached to what's gone on in the past. You know, really look at all the experiences that you've had with relationships not working out or financial challenges is like what's really made you super solid. So yeah, staying authentic is what you need to do, but also learning to speak from the heart. Sarah says she's starting her collection. You should see mine. I haven't, I don't know why. It's like every time I buy a deck, I'm like, yeah, but like I'm really gonna want this when I'm like 60. Said it in the 4th. You know, it's really interesting. Some decks, some of those vintage decks, they're collectors, but me personally, I'm a little weird about buying stuff that's been used. Some of them are brand new in the box, some of them have been used. I kind of steer away from a used deck, that's just me. Yeah, but there are some pricey tarot decks out there. Actually, I have the first edition of this. I don't even know what it's going for. It's probably going for about $1,000, but it's just beat up. Like the cards are like, they're like paper thin now because I've been reading with them for so long. Now they have like a little special spot in my tarot drawer, so they're not going to be damaged. They're very sentimental. I hope to have them forever, and I don't know what I will do with them, but somebody will inherit all of my tarot decks one day. And all of my books. I have a lot of like really old like vintage occult books too. So that's my collection. I have a stellium of planets in the 2nd house, so I collect all of that stuff. All right, so last but not least, let's get on with Austin. Austin, let's see, there we go. Let's see what you asked. Rainbow Snuggle Fizz on YouTube. What do I need to know about my job? I'm unhappy, probably TMI. Virgo rising, Sun, Venus, Uranus, Neptune, and Sag, Moon. I love how you like put all of this stuff out. That's amazing. Literally wrote out your whole chart. So what do you need to know about your job? Y'all, you've got a Mercury retrograde and you had eclipses that were, you know, kind of going down. I think the biggest challenge for you right now is that if you're a Virgo rising, Neptune is really coming into a square with your midheaven, and so that's really going to change a lot about your perception of who you are, and also like your relationships and also your work. I'd be interested to hear what happened for the Mercury retrograde for you, because that was a biggie, you know, depending on where it was happening in your chart. I don't know if it was happening in your 9th house, which activates like, well, do I need to take courses? Do I need to learn something new? Do I need to travel somewhere? Did it manifest as you having a mentor or a guru show up in your life? I'd be interested. Let me know. And so it looks like Sun, Venus, Uranus, Neptune is all in Sag. So you were born somebody who was like in the late 80s, right? If you have that Uranus, Neptune, and Sag conjunction. Saturn in Scorpio, Mercury in Cap, Pluto in Libra, Chiron retro in Taurus, midheaven Gemini, North Node in Cancer. North Node in Cancer, so that North Node that you have, it's in your 10th house, huh? Saturn, Moon in the 2nd, Jupiter, Uranus, Moon in the 3rd house. North Node in the 10th, yeah. Okay, so let's see what you need to know about your job that you're unhappy in. So much of that is still evolving and changing. I'm going to tell you, especially like with the Neptune transit. I would say be really open, because this is about how people come into your life and they change your perspective on what you want to do for a living. You want to look at the ruler of your 10th house, which is Mercury, and you have Mercury in Cap, right? So that's probably somewhere within your 3rd or 4th house, depending on the degree. Moon in 3rd house, Neptune, so let me know. 87, yeah. The World card. Yeah, cycles are completing. You know, this is actually about bringing you to this realization of what the bigger picture is with your career. Like, you know, I've seen this for a lot of like late degree Virgo risings, early degree Libra risings. Part of the transits in the 9th right now are becoming aware of what the bigger purpose in your life is, right? And whether that's like, oh, I found something that I really do want to do for a living. How do I learn more about it? Like, if you're not happy and if something's a problem this year, make it bigger, right? Because it's about like having a bigger view on the overall picture of what's going on in your life. For you to be having a retrograde in the 9th house, which in your chart is Gemini, so it very much does pertain to what you think you believe in, what you know, especially with your Mercury. I would say look at what's going on with your natal Mercury right now. You know, is Uranus coming into a trine with it? You know, are you still experiencing a harsh Pluto transit or aspect to your Mercury? When things happen to your Mercury, that's when everything starts to kind of shift with your career, because you're very mercurial. If you're a Virgo rising and you've got Gemini ruling your 10th house. I've also seen a lot of Virgo risings that they do 2 things. So there can be 2 jobs. There can be like, well, this is my day job and then I do this. Or they have to work in a way where they're communicating or they're writing or they're expressing. So that seems to be really important. And feeling like mentally you're very stimulated and that you're not overly stressed out with what you're doing for a living. The World card is one of the best cards you can pull. This is the card that's about really kind of coming to this decision and like this fulfillment and realizing like maybe you've been in a situation where you've been putting a bandage on a broken arm and you've been doing a job that you feel like you have to do because you have to pay the bills, but that's not going to be sustainable for very long. And the World card is like, okay, zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Like, do you want to look back on your life and go, oh, I spent X amount of time working a job that I hated and I never really gave something that I really wanted to do a shot? Like, it's saying go big or go home. What is it that you have been doing for work? It was a shit show. I couldn't speak without someone taking it wrong or twisting my words. Yeah, I mean, that is what it is, but you want to look from aspects and help from Saturn. So you got Saturn in your 6th house and it's having conversations with your natal placements that you have in Libra. And it's really teaching you how to be really clear and being more reasonable, but also like leaning on that Libra side of your chart and knowing when to cut people off and just be very clear. You still do have some changes that are coming. Like there is still going to be a retrograde, you know, the beginning of next year that's happening in Aquarius and it'll dip into Capricorn. So it's about reevaluating what you're passionate about and what you love and whether or not you want to give something a go or whether or not you want to like let something start up. Hi Lynn, I've gotten those vintage, used brand new. Oh my God, I got 4 decks this fall in the deck. Your new and mental boxes, check in. Why so pricey? Where can you get a good bloodstone? Dragon bloodstone is solid but chalky. I haven't seen anywhere. Dragon's blood? You mean like the resin? Is that what you're asking about? Let me know. Resin. You know, that's a good question because I had an apothecary that I went through pretty regularly when I was living in LA, and I have a ton of dragon's blood resin, so I haven't had to get any yet. Usually you can get that through like a place that sells incense and stuff. I haven't had to buy any online yet. I'll have to think about that and where you could get that through. I don't see why you couldn't. Let's see, I work in child preschool. Okay. So I'm going to assume that Saturn is still moving through your 5th. So it's going through your 5th house and it's having a conversation with your 9th house and also your ascendant. It's like, okay, so how do you want to go deeper? Do you still want to keep working with children? You know, taking care of children, working with children can very much feel like a burden with Saturn in your 5th right now. And it's coming into harsh aspects with Uranus and Taurus. So it's like, do you want to go deeper? Do you want to work more with kids? Do you need to continue your education? Let me check some of my resources, Lynn. Let me see who might have some. I'm just trying to think of like, I want to give you like a source for a place where you can get somewhere it's going to be like a good, like it's going to have good vibes, or maybe even like a smaller business, or like a really good like herbal shop. So I'll get back to you and let you know, because I have some people that I know who do that. I don't know where it is that you're located, but a store that I will shout out that I really like is in Burbank, California. It's called, is it the Crooked Path? There is a man who owns a place called Sal. He's really awesome. Sal is a great practitioner. He's got a lot of Capricorn and Virgo in his chart, and he makes really great products, and I bought all of my stuff through him. So they might have a website, so I would check out the Crooked Path online. Maybe you'll find some. Yeah, I mean, you know, I would say that for you, Fritz, part of what's happening right now is like needing to decide if you're going to stay in this. Do you go further down the rabbit hole, and do you make the decision to continue your education so you can do more, so you don't feel like you're very limited? If not, then you're going to really feel Saturn in Aquarius in your 6th house squaring with Uranus, that you're going to have roadblocks at work unless you have some new skills, and unless you apply some new skills, or unless you're willing to like change the ages of kids that you're working with. Sometimes I've seen the square from the 6th of like teachers being like, well, I went from teaching preschool to like I wanted to go and like actually, you know, go and get all of my certifications to be able to teach, and now I'm actually a teacher, and I work at a high school, or I work at, you know, grade school. So it's trying to really push you to kind of like go a little bit deeper and perfect more when it comes to, you know, what you're actually able to do at work. And it does require either to educate or to travel, right? Because of the placements that you have, the 6th and the 8th, the 9th. But the World card says it's coming to a completion, whether you're realizing that you've gone as far as you can go where you're at now, or that you need to go further, and it requires you to kind of be on top of it. I encourage you to think more about your long-term goals. Like if you're not happy where you are now, do you think you're going to be happy in 3 years? How about 10 years? So until you really start making those changes that are setting you up to go in the direction that you want to go, it's going to be kind of challenging. Might be a good idea to get a reading, especially because of all the squares that you're having with Neptune and Jupiter. Like lots of big relationship stuff happening for you next year, and like possibly moving. So that stuff comes up a lot in your chart, and having just a complete emotional shift in how you see things. Hopefully that was helpful. That was fun, guys. That was a bit of time. We had a good time tonight. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to sign off. So those of you guys who stayed and you watched, thank you for watching. Thanks for checking in. Thank you for looking at my channel. Those of you guys who keep coming back, you guys are awesome. I love being able to see you guys check in the chat and go back and forth with me. And I'm starting to like recognize people now that I'm doing this. I'm here every Friday night, so you can usually catch me here sometime between like 7 and 8. I'll put the alert up. The plan is probably what we'll do is we'll try to do astrology next week. So this was tarot. We'll rotate that in. If you guys reference the listing for books, yeah, I probably should do that. I should do that with as many books and decks and stuff. Maybe I'll set that up through like Amazon and a couple things, because I'm always like referencing stuff. I'm going to actually do that right before I start teaching. I'm going to be like, here are all the things that I use. So I'm going to try to get like an affiliate maybe through like Amazon or something. But yeah, I'll do I'm going to do a video soon where I make a lot of recommendations, because people seem to want to know what I'm reading, or they want to know what decks that I have. So maybe I'll do that, and maybe I'll do some unboxing videos. That can be kind of fun too for the tarot stuff. I actually got this recently, this deck. I can't even remember what this deck's called. And I wish I had done an unboxing for it, because when I opened it, I was like, oh my God, this is a gorgeous deck. The Neo Rider Tarot Collection. It's got a really nice like little magnetic box, and it opens, and it comes with like a little book and everything. But just the aesthetic of it is very nice. It's very beautiful, and I love the cards. I'm obsessed with rose gold. It's like my favorite thing in the world. Can you tell? And so I immediately fell in love with these cards, and I love that the stock is so different. So I'll start doing some stuff on unboxing maybe soon, and talking to you guys about some of the decks that I have. If you guys have any questions or comments or whatever, leave them below. You can also find my social media links there if you want to follow me on Instagram or on Facebook. I'm pretty active on my Instagram, usually for memes. And I'll be back here on Monday to talk about the astrology. If you want to book a reading with me, you can do so by checking out my website at beyondtheveiltarot.com. I am booked out until August right now, so if you do want to get on my books, make sure that you get a reading with me. It's a combination of tarot, clairvoyant, and astrology. I'm more than happy to see new clients. I've definitely had a lot of really fun people who have come in just for me doing these lives. So Thank you guys, and I'm super open to your recommendations. So if you have questions about videos or things that you want, please let me know. I'm always happy to do that for you guys. All right. So you have a good weekend. I'll see all of you guys very soon. Take care.